is Speaking with Gravity, where we talk about mental health and how everything affects everything. With every episode, the goal is to have a conversation that will make you think, make you feel, and make you do what is best for you. This isn't therapy, it's a podcast. What's going on? What's going on, y'all? Glad to have y'all back with us at Speaking with Gravity. I am Joshua.
I'm D.
I'm Curvin.
And this is the Speaking with Gravity podcast. We're looking forward to this episode. Y'all got a great episode going on today. Episode titled, Ways to Deal with Negative People. I know you got some family members out there, some friends out there that maybe you need tips with today about how to handle that negative energy, right? We're going to jump right into it today. We're going to have D do our Twitter discussion. We're going to get rolling.
All right, so I just want to be a better woman, upgrade my vocabulary, my lifestyle, how I handle people, and situations, just have complete self-control. I don't want negativity around me, and this is at O Simone, Aurea Simone.
Yeah.
That's a deep one right there.
What's your thoughts on that, D?
Okay, so I just want to be a better woman, upgrade my vocabulary, my lifestyle, how I handle people in situations, and just have complete self-control. I don't want negative people around me.
No negativity around me.
No negativity.
A double negative.
Yes, definitely. No, I'm not sure what she made in English class. No, I'm just playing.
I was the man in English class. My bad, D. Go ahead, D.
I'm processing. I'm actually processing.
And this is me. I don't know if I'm being too much of an old head when it comes down to this. But when I read it, I was like, no negativity. That's impossible. Like, you're gonna encounter some negative people. You're gonna negative situations, negative energy. It's not trying to not have it a part of my life. I can't imagine a life with only happiness and nothing bad happening. Where will our resilience come from? So it's not, I'm okay with the gist of it. I want to be a better woman, but to exclude negativity, I guess that's what I was focusing on. Not trying to exclude it, but knowing how to handle it as opposed to excluding it completely from my life. So that was my thought process when I saw it.
And I think that's where I'm at, because I'm thinking of going back to school days, person and environment. And so the beginning of her sentence talks about her wanting to regulate self. And what we know is we have control only of self. So we're not able to actually control external things or the things that are always around us. And so it's almost like I get her concept, but you don't have a way, like Curvin said, of keeping negativity around you. What you have the ability to do is control how you react and respond to the negativity that you may be exposed to. And so to my queen and to her, I think it's enlightening that she wants to improve herself, but also pay less attention to the external things and more attention to you internally, because as you evolve, the people around you are going to change regardless. Because as you begin to expand and you begin to explore different things, you're going to expose yourself to different things. And ultimately, there's sometimes relationships diminish without cause. Sometimes you just outgrow people. So I think that will happen naturally. And she will see herself in a position of where she will remove herself from the negativity. She won't eliminate the negativity, but she will learn that environment or those people or that situation no longer serves her in that capacity, and that will allow her to respond to that differently. So, but big ups to Queen, because I understand her initial desire to expand who she is.
Great mentality to have, too.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like you said, I think you got to know when to fold them. You got to know when to, once you are evolving and you growing and you showing growth and you want to stay in that space.
Right.
You got to, you got to cut some things out. You got to cut some people out, So I understand that last part, too, about not wanting any negativity around me. Because people will bring that around, It seems like when you're trying to, See, like when you trying to move in that positive direction, that's when it come around too.
Yeah.
That's when it come around. So
And you know, they say what hurt people hurt people. So you know, sometimes it's just somebody seeing you grow and they haven't grown, or they want to grow. They want to get to a certain level. They might not even have any clue whatsoever, man. They see yours and it's like, wait a minute, let me say this. Let me bring this to the table. Maybe let me see if I can stunt his growth a little bit. And you just got to know how to navigate that. And that can be in your family. That can be with friends. You just got to learn how to navigate it whenever you identify it.
And the crazy thing is, we want to help people so bad when they be in those situations, and you try to pull people out of a slump, and sometimes it just don't happen.
Right.
It just don't happen, and sometimes you risk yourself being pulled into that negativity from trying to help somebody, because a lot of times it's not intentional. You know, they going through the things that they're going through, you know, and sometimes they can't help it. But you know, you still have to be vigilant, you know, about your energy and protecting your energy. So it's like, if I got somebody on the phone with me who like being negative, I'm trying to pull you out, you ain't coming out, man. I'm gonna give you my mind, and then I'm gonna tell you, hey, we might have to talk later.
Cut that conversation short.
Yeah, we might have to cut it short. Yeah. And come back to it later. I'm not gonna give up on you, but I'm not gonna give in either. You know, so most definitely. But we can move to the QD of the hour. Moving right along. Kirby, you want to give us a QD of the hour today, man?
All right, QD of the hour, another version of fun facts, info for you to be able to give to your family, friends, colleagues, co-workers, church members. So, research has shown that across a wide array of psychological events, people tend to focus more on the negative as they try to make sense of the world. We tend to, 1, pay more attention to negative events than positive ones, 2, learn more from negative outcomes and experiences, and 3, make decisions based on negative information more than positive data.
I got my thoughts about this, but why? I gotta ask y'all why. Yeah, why that attraction to the negative, to negativity?
So
where's that come from?
Why D is processing. You know she love to tell us she processing.
Yeah.
Why
You a certified hater.
why she processing? But no, and I talk about this a little bit more sometimes in one-on-one therapy. I learned this a while ago, and I'm paraphrasing what I'm about to say, but it was kind of like survival of the fittest, right? And when you're as a human species in the beginning, you have to remember what you encountered that was bad so that you don't encounter it again in order for me to survive, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, if I see this dinosaur footprint, they say we had dinosaurs back in the day, right? If I see this footprint.
You said they say they say we had dinosaurs? You don't believe we had dinosaurs?
I can't say I don't believe it. I can't say I don't believe it.
You're skeptical about it, though.
I can't even say I'm skeptical. It's just, you know, it is what it is.
You don't have to explain. I don't want to take you for your point. Go ahead. Okay.
But the point is that when you see those footprints in the sand, as I like to say,
Sure.
then you know that, all right, a dinosaur is going to come, and I need to be aware of that dinosaur. Because the last time I saw footprints in the sand, and I wasn't aware, and he killed somebody. He stepped on somebody. Somebody was gone. Now, I might be a little far-fetched in my analogy here, the story that I'm trying to give, but the bottom line is in order to survive, you're going to remember the things that hurt you. You're going to remember the things that took away from your happiness or that tripped you up. You're going to remember those in order for you not to have to repeat that cycle or that mistake again. And, you know, this is just, it's a survival mechanism that we've come up with, one of them that we've come up with.
I agree. I think we're it's like a psychological thing almost. You know, we're attracted to negativity because there's a warning in there, right? Mm-hmm. I even think about, you know, God might have told us, you know, to do right and whatnot, but he also told us what not to do, right? and that stuff that he tell you what not to do, you're going to think about that a little bit more, I feel like. And that's going to keep you from really getting into trouble, you know what I mean? So it's those negative things. It's almost like a psychological warning, you know what I mean? You attracted to bad things because you need to know what's out there. Kind of like you saying with the dinosaur print and all that you was talking about.
Yeah, I done brought all the dinosaurs here.
I think we're gonna be on that for a little minute.
Somebody's still processing that right now. This dude was just talking about dinosaurs?
Yeah, I think yeah. That's gonna be a theme over the next few episodes, I think.
No, I'm not letting you cut that up.
You ain't got a choice.
But even in the QD of the hour, right, it says pay more attention to negative events than positive ones and learn from those negative outcomes. Learn from those negative experiences, which is, the end goal.
Most definitely. How you feel about that, D?
Well, I think kind of like what you said, from a biblical standpoint, I think the Bible clearly indicates that evil will always be around us. So the concept that people focus more on negativity is because typically that's what we are exposed to more continuously. When you look at what we utilize to obtain information, historically and presently, social media platforms, newspapers, news in general, the message that is continually put out into society is negativity and fear. And so if that's what I'm continuously being exposed to, that is what my mindset typically stands on. And when we think about the effects of negativity, or you think about trauma in a sense, it really becomes a reoccurring event because the body goes into this fight or flight defense mechanism, right? And so the emotion that I feel within myself as I respond to certain situations, I'm possibly going to experience that emotion again more frequently than not, right? So if something made me afraid, right, I'm going to experience being afraid of something ongoingly, likely in my lifehood. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, I hate the highway. So, you know what I'm saying? That creates a feeling of anxiety. But also, going to a doctor visit, not knowing what they're going to say sometimes can create that feeling of anxiety, right? And so that negative emotion creates a cycle for me. And so that's what I'm more prevalently exposed to in general. When you think about excitement, I think, how often do people actually experience genuine happiness, right? It's a rarity for some people because their perception is, well, don't nothing go right for me. You know what I'm saying? I get something going good and then my car break down, or this light bill was $200 last week, now it's $600. And so that, again, creates this opportunity of fear, these negative emotions and thoughts. And so it's easier for people to be focused on that because that's what they're experiencing more frequently. And so here's where, I know we get into this later on, but here's where I think gratitude comes into play and why gratitude becomes so significant, because what you focus on is what you will inevitably create a cycle of. So if I'm focused on negativity, even if positivity is happening to me, I really can't even recognize it because my focus is divided on what's negatively happening to me. But I do think, like Kervin said, you learn from experience. And so because I know that this situation doesn't do me justice, now I know that, this may be a way that I respond differently. For me, if I can avoid highways and tolls, I'm going to do that, right? Because that reduces my anxiety. Not always feasible. It may take me a little bit more longer to get to where I go, but the outcome is still the same. I make it there safely. I've reduced my emotional, I've regulated it, and it allowed me to experience, whatever I was striving for. So that's my thought.
So out of all that, you know what I heard?
What?
You don't like the interstate.
You make me.
No. No.
I always got to be so busy.
No. I heard all that. Like, you was on point on all of that. But I did, like, I just can't just...
I don't like that. Just say.
Okay. Right.
I don't, though. But I just, because a lot of people don't recognize that. A lot of people don't, as much as people don't realize it, they don't like the interstate either. Like, you got some people who like the rush of it, but for a lot of people, that's anxious because it's just... just me.
Yeah,
maybe I'm speaking from my own experience.
Well, the older I get, the less I like the interstate. Like, it wasn't a thing for me younger. But the more I get on there, the less I like it. Because, people taking chances is risk. Some people driving fast, some people driving too slow.
Well, exactly. And then you got them 18-wheelers coming behind you.
Yeah, I definitely don't like them.
No. You but 18-wheelers on both sides, and you trying to stay steady, Lord Jesus.
It definitely brings anxiety. You know what I do on the interstate? I just get in front of everybody. I ain't got time. I don't want to be around nobody. Cause we didn't have no
You the person that's driving too fast.
I'm in the front. You can't even tell I'm driving too fast. I'm gone. So let me ask y'all. So what does it take? Somebody who's in a negative rut, who's surrounded by negative people and they're in a negative rut. What does it take for somebody to come out of that? You know, because we talking about dealing with negative people, but for that person who's in that negative rut, what does it take for someone to come out of that?
Yeah. We've said it time and time again about being intentional. But when we say be intentional, we always add to that. Specifically, what can I do? And she just gave it. She just gave a nugget about gratitude. Because you're at that point when you're having gratitude from day to day. I was listening to another podcast. It was Residual Impact. I think that's the name of the podcast. And he was talking about Oprah Winfrey writes down three things every day that she's grateful for, that she's thankful for. Well, it's put in her mind. She's making a conscious effort to make note of the positive. So then it creates a cycle of positive experiences, things that I'm thankful for that counteracts your negativity that you're going to see or you're going to engage in or that you're going to naturally do. So being intentional about, all right, let me say, what am I grateful for at the end of the day or even at the beginning of the day? You know, it's different for everybody. But being intentional about gratitude is one of those things.
So y'all hear it. It actually takes work.
It do.
To come
absolutely.
up out of things. It takes work. It takes being intentional and every day working on it. I tell you, I think everybody's been in that kind of period of their life. When I was in a slump like that, I did something very similar. Every day I wrote what I was learning from what I was going through. I wrote what I was learning, and I was also writing where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be from there. You know what I mean? The different thoughts that I wanted to have. And that was kind of a propeller for me. And I know it can be tough though to do something like that while you're going through something. But you have to, though. I mean, what's the alternative? Giving up or falling back? Nah, at least fall forward.
Yeah. And it's definitely not easy.
Fall forward.
It's definitely not easy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But and it was something that I saw, I think, in our show notes when we're talking about dealing with people who are in that negative space, setting boundaries as a strategy for protecting yourself. Have y'all dealt with someone, I guess, in your practice in which you had to teach them or tell them about setting boundaries? And can you tell us how that may look so that you set boundaries in a way that's healthy for you, but also not excluding or denying that person, that person who's going through something? Or not making them feel as though, just putting them off or devalued or anything like that.
Yeah. Setting boundaries is real broad, and it's different based on, that's what the individual therapy comes in at. Mm-hmm. To note how setting boundaries is, how you can make it applicable to your life. As opposed, like I can give you some examples right now that might not work for you, but if you go to that individual individual therapy with a therapist, then they can kind of work with you on your individual goals. That being said, boundaries when it comes down to negative people is what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
And that the easiest one is, most people say, well, just walk away or just exclude them, and it's not always really that easy because you have your work situations where you're gonna you're working. And there are going to be negative people on your team, negative coworkers. It might even be a negative boss. But the thing that I would say was don't take it personally. Don't internalize that negative energy that person is bringing to you as if, okay, it's really me, as opposed to them. So don't take it personal as one of the. We were supposed to be talking about boundaries, but. in order to set that boundary, you first got to know not to take it personally.
I take it personal. Yeah,
All right.
I agree.
How would I set that boundary? I would limit the time that I'm around that person. Even if it's in a work setting, you know what you have to do with that individual, and if I have to be with them for an hour at a time or a couple of minutes, I'm gonna do that couple of minutes. I'm gonna do that hour. Then I'm gonna go get me a break, or I'm gonna go around somebody else who don't have that same energy. So I'm gonna look at the amount of time that I'm engaging with that person. That's one way to set that boundary. Knowing exactly how much I have to be around them.
I find myself scheduling time to be around certain people. Like, I won't answer the phone for you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But if you're listening right now and I haven't answered the phone for you in the last 2 weeks, I'm not talking about you. But yeah, I won't answer the phone for you. Then I'll call you back when I feel like, okay, I'm ready to deal with this. And I feel like that's healthy. Like, for me, I feel like that's healthy.
Yeah, and you don't always have to share with that person. You know, it's some people that I hadn't talked to in a minute, but it ain't necessary. Some of it's because somebody might be negative, but not every person. I just haven't carved out time for them.
For sure. Let me ask y'all, how does taking charge
You
of
can let D say how she
I'm gonna answer,
you can
I'm
set
gonna direct this, I'm gonna direct this to
Oh,
D.
okay, the next
I
one.
thought you
Okay.
did perfect, brother.
Okay,
She
all
did
right.
Great, yeah.
All right.
Are
I
you
just don't want her to.
successful?
I don't want her to get over.
She good.
Yeah, okay.
You good, D? You good? You want
Yeah.
to take this one? You want to elaborate on that?
I mean, I think y'all did a good thing. I think what I always say and what I always promote when it comes to setting boundaries is you have to identify how something makes you feel in certain situations, because in order to establish a boundary, you have to know why the boundary is needed. So, a lot of times when people set boundaries in place, it is, I want to just avoid people, but avoidance never really creates boundaries, right? It just allows you to delay what is inevitable. You're going to eventually be exposed to certain people in certain situations, especially if it's a friend or if it's a family member. So you want to be intentional about what you're doing when you think about setting boundaries. Looking at what is causing the conflict, because oftentimes when people set boundaries, it's because there is a conflict being established. That conflict can either be the person or the situation that you're trying to deal with. This common goal is not trying to be achieved, right? And so you have to identify what is creating that conflict. Is that conflict external, which is something that is outside of my control, or is this conflict internal? So a lot of times when you ask, in terms of clients, have I dealt with it? A lot of times in our community, I deal with setting boundaries with our people about family. Family is the number one challenge for people to be able to set boundaries with, because that is an ongoing relationship that people are constantly going to be exposed to, whether they like it or not. And some people say, well, they're my people and I just don't deal with them. Well, then you have to deal with that feeling of isolation, because then they be like, well, my family don't talk to me, or my family don't. But you can't have both ways, right? You can't have them completely disassociated from you, but then also want them to support you, right? So what is the conflict? The conflict is that I need to learn how to coexist with the people that I am connected to, or how do I complete or serve this relationship that I have with the people that have been assigned to me in this lifetime, right? And so what that means is, she may be my sister. I can't talk to her every day, but maybe I can call her every 2 weeks and just let her know that, I'm touching bases with her, seeing how she doing. That's a boundary, right? Because I'm still fulfilling that relationship that I want, and achieving that support so that person can feel supported and I can be supported, but I'm also not subjecting myself to daily, negativity. Let's just say that my sister negative, which, sister, if you listen to this, I'm not indicating that you're negative in any capacity. But you know what I'm saying, just as a prime example. So it's just different things that you really have to take into consideration, I think, when you're talking about setting boundaries. And I think Kerwin hit it on the nail. If it's something that a person is struggling with individually, and they've tried to establish boundaries and been unsuccessful, then therapy may be a great spot for them to evaluate how to begin that process.
I love it. Taking charge of the conversation. How is that a way to deal with negative people?
How's what?
Taking charge. So, So when you're so when you have someone that's coming to you, with negativity, really taking charge of that conversation, directing that conversation, how is that in your minds? How is that a healthy way of dealing with
Me
that
taking
negativity?
Charge of
Of the conversation, yeah. Because okay, so
When-
if you
when
have
you-
someone that's coming to you and they're bringing that negativity to you, let's say you don't just want to run away from the onset, because it may be you may have some you may be able to help that person. So I think that one strategy for that, if you do want to help that person, is taking charge of the conversation, turning it around. Using your positivity to turn that conversation around.
Yeah.
Just want to know, how has that, how would you, I guess almost, what does that look
Redirect.
like? Yeah, how would you
Yeah.
redirect that?
So I actually use this again in everyday life. So you either got two things you can really do when you're taking charge of that conversation. Is what you just said, is to redirect it. So if somebody coming to me, I'm gonna say something outlandish, but if they're talking about the conspiracy theorist, or they're talking about the man, whoever the man is. All right, so I'm gonna focus on some positives in our life, or some situations that I have been able to persevere through, or somebody else have been able to persevere through and be successful. I'm gonna redirect that conversation to that. And then when we're talking about the other option is to bring out the positives in whatever negativity that you bring. So if you're giving a negative story, then I might, try to find what they say, the silver lining. I might try to find the silver lining in that story as you're telling the story, and not, or even at the end. But trying to bring out the positives in whatever is given to me is how I would direct the conversation. Then if I can't take charge of the conversation, if you're just gonna repeatedly give me that negativity, then I can remove myself or end the conversation, because it's my life. At the end of the
Right.
day, it's my life.
Okay.
And in this conversation, I'm giving you time of my life, hearing you bring negativity to me and bringing me down. Nah, I ain't having that today.
At some point, it
I don't
becomes
have time for that.
complaining, right? At
Yeah.
some point, it becomes
Yeah.
complaining, right?
And when you're talking about complaining,
Yeah.
somebody that complains, you can't really solve a complaint.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, it's a complaint. And no matter what you do, you maybe can ease it. But even if you ease it, they may not give you credit for that, right? So when we're talking about complaining, and then, sometimes it takes a minute for you to recognize if it's a complaint or if it's really a concern that may be negative, and you can.
Yeah.
It takes a minute for you to learn people sometimes, and that can even be going back to what you're saying. It may take you years to learn a family member. It may take you. I've seen it. I've heard it where someone who been around a family member, and for whatever reason something happened, and they couldn't be around that family member anymore, and then their mood just lightens up. Their outlook on life is totally different now that they are not around that particular family member or friend. Then that means that family member was not good for that person. And again, a lot of times in therapy, you're able to see patterns more clearly because you're talking it out loud, or your therapist will be able to acknowledge, hey, have you noticed this? And that's the benefits of therapy when if we're talking about that, to identify patterns, to identify things that you're not necessarily seeing.
Most definitely. You got anything on that, dude?
My concept is this: when you are exposed to people, you have to identify if people are venting to you or if people are trying to process with you. There is a difference between processing and venting. Venting means I just want to get this off my chest. Processing means I'm looking for ways in which I can resolve this issue or conflict that I'm experiencing. And what you have to do is you have to identify if you have the space to hold time out of the space and the time to help someone or support them in their venting process. if you don't have the ability to do that because of time or just because you're tired of hearing it, then there's a way that you can just, say, you know what, I can tell this is really bothering you, because I think you have to be so very empathetic to what people are experiencing, no matter whether it's venting or processing. And I think what you have to do is just identify that, you know what, it sounds like what you need is beyond the way I'm able to support you right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, have you thought about talking to this with somebody else? And so in that way, taking lead of the conversation, like you said, by saying, you know what, this seems to be an ongoing issue for you. It sounds like you need help to get from venting to processing, right? So how do we move this forward? Because you are, even though just, sometimes being confrontational, depending on your relationship, and saying, you know what, you kind of been talking about this for a while now. How are we, what are we doing, to change the situation? You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes people don't realize I'm sitting in this and I'm not trying to get up yet. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to see where and how that person wants to move themselves forward. One of the things that's most important is you got to remember, you can't change anyone's situation who doesn't want to change, right?
Tell me about
So there are some people who are comfortable where they are, and you have to be okay with saying, you know what, I'm going to let you sit there. Because if that's what you want to do, who am I to take you from your mess if you want to stay in it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there are some people who you can deliver from a situation, you can talk them through a situation, and 2 weeks later,
Be right back in.
they right back in it. Why? Because that's what they desire right now. That's where their mindset is. That's where their heart is. And until they're ready to come up out of that, that's what boundaries is. Boundaries is saying, this, you comfortable where you are right now. You're not in a position to where you want to change, and I respect it. I can't force or impose anything on you. And a lot of times conflict arises with us when it's negative people, because we sometimes want more for people than what they want for themselves, right? And so just like, parents, I've had conversations with parents, and if you have conversations with people, you'll see sometimes when situations got better, when we take our hands off of it. When we quit trying to mold people to be what we want them to be or how we want them to be, and just allow them to be, and then we evaluate whether how they are is what we can accommodate. That's how we change situations. That's how we are able to, deal with negative people. Because I'm not saying this is who you always gonna be, but I'm just saying who you are right now doesn't fit me.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you hit something. Because you got to protect your peace.
Yeah.
And a part of that is not trying to force somebody to make changes, not trying to force somebody to do what you think is best for them. Because otherwise, man, you'll be in a rabbit hole for the rest of your life trying to get people to do what you want them to do, what you think is best for them.
Right. And especially in our role, or if you're in any helping field where your design, your responsibility is to try to transition people. If people are not in a stage of readiness, it is nothing that we can do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you will drive yourself insane trying to figure out, if they could just do this, or if I could just do this. And you're doing all of this, putting all of this energy, all of this effort, and then you're making yourself feel like a failure, when ultimately it's just this person isn't ready for what you want them to be ready for, and that's hard to deal with when you're dealing with people. But sometimes you just have to be in a place where you accept people for who and where they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
People like they dirt. And sometimes they're on drugs.
Huh? What?
And sometimes they're on drugs.
Okay. I didn't know where you were going with that one. But yeah, you're
So
right.
you might have to
Like
check them for some other
yeah.
things too.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff, all that good stuff. But hey, I think it's been a great episode today, y'all.
Absolutely.
Really informative. I think really helpful for some of our viewers out there. Kervin wanted me to lead this episode. Let's drop a gravity bomb for that.
A gravity bomb.
Gravity bomb, yeah. Not bomb.
Bomb. Okay,
yeah.
all right.
But yeah, y'all got anything else y'all want to add to today's discussion?
Nah, man, I think we went through. Did we leave anything out that we should?
No, but I think a good summary of those things that we identified on ways in which you can deal with negative people, or taking charge of the conversation, like you mentioned, reframing the negativity, avoid complainers when possible, and always practice empathy. You know what I'm saying? Remember, you are not in control of your environment. You are only in control of the person within that environment.
Let's get it.
And that person itself.
Well, it's been a pleasure today, y'all. Did you have anything, Kirk? My bad.
Nah, man, she said it all.
It's been a pleasure today, y'all. We'll do a few shout-outs. I guess I'll shout out myself first since I'm talking, right? Check out Let's Talk About It.
That's how you normally do it. Shout out yourself first.
Yeah, you got to. I think you do it. No, you right. You do it last. But I'm going to go ahead and do it first. Get it. Check out Let's Talk About It on YouTube. We go around. We talk to random people. We ask them the deep questions, the reflective questions. Where you get your peace from? What's the meaning of life? We want to know it, and we want to positively affect other people's lives. So check us out on YouTube, Joshua Garvey Williams. D, I'm going to let you shout yourself out, baby girl.
Kodak Ready.
Oh, okay.
Consultant in the building.
Yeah, so Kodak Ready Consultant, for all of your consultant services, help with goal clarification, personal and professional development, grief support, all that good stuff. So check us out at KodakReadyConsultant.com.
Let's get it. Curvin.
Gravity Counsel Group, individual, family, therapy, as well as couples counseling. We have a wellness group that we do once a month. And that's it. Of course, Speaking with Gravity, like, subscribe, comment, all of those stuff. That stuff.
Speaking with Gravity.
Don't forget Winston.
Definitely. And Winston, we can find him on Instagram at Winston J. Stewart. Am I correct? Yeah. On point, yeah.
And Taisha.
Yeah. Taisha too. I was gonna say Winston, he's our cameraman, he's our video man, he's our sound man, he's pretty much everything for us. So he's the lifeblood of the operation. And then Taisha, guys, shout out Taisha.
61 Rentals.
61 Rentals, yeah. For all your 360 booth needs, for all your
event needs.
Yeah. Turn your event up.
And we got we'll have it in the show notes, so you ought to be able to get the links. If you like there's a press show more.
All right, old man.
Yeah, and then it'll show all that stuff.
Hey, let them see your, because I can't really see a shirt like that. Let them see your shirt, man. See what we working with.
So I don't know if anybody have been paying attention like that, but usually every episode I got an HBCU shirt on, even though I didn't go to one.
It's cool, yeah.
But I rep those. And today I got Claflin on. This was brought to me today. I got Claflin on. So.
I love it. Yeah. Let's drop a gravity bomb for that.
Another gravity bomb, okay. Claflin. What's that, Panthers?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't even know what that logo was.
I didn't know what the mascot was. All right, well, hey, it's been a pleasure, man. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all here with us. We appreciate that. We'll see y'all next episode, man. Speaking with Gravity.